Hi everyone, it's Paul here. It is Monday the 11th of March and that means that the 2019 Cheltenham Festival is finally here. Action starts tomorrow. It's been a long winter waiting for this as always, but we're here, we're ready. The weather seems to be hopefully dying down a bit, so there should be no chances of cancellations, and we are ready to go. So let's jump straight into it. First race of day one, as always, the Supreme Novice Hurdle. The Cheltenham crowd will no doubt give the usual roar for this. Always get goosebumps when I hear it. Absolutely love it. It's one of my favourite moments of the festival because 28 races to go. But starting with the Supreme Novice, and the obvious place to start is the favourite and the horse who's been favourite for the last few weeks only really, and that is Al Dancer for Nigel Twiston-Davies and Sam Twiston-Davies. You can't fault the horse. 4 out of 4 this season, including the Betfair Hurdle last time out. Won that pretty well. Handles soft ground. Everything seemingly going in its favour. I'm not actually tipping this one up though. A couple of bits are just slightly putting me off. Namely, the form of that Betfair. I'm not sure how strong it is. Magic Dancer, who I actually thought would run a good race on that day, is a bit of an in and out performer and got pretty close. And in behind, Downtown Getaway for Paul Nicholls completely bombed. I think it was Kelso last time. So while I think Al Dancer can only beat what's put in front of it and definitely is improving, I will be looking elsewhere. Grandson season there for Paul Nicholls. 7 runs already this season. It's yielded 4 wins. I do suspect, though, he wants probably a bit better ground than what's going to be on offer tomorrow. And I'm also slightly tempered by the fact is tomorrow is going to be his 8th run already of a novice season. And that is quite a lot of miles on the clock. But I suppose he could be battle hardy and won't be fazed by the occasion. Fakir Duderi for Joseph O'Brien is very interesting because this horse has been all the rage for the Triumph Hurdle most of this season, and even more so after he won the Triumph Trial at Cheltenham back in January by 13 lengths. Absolutely routed them. Subsequently bought by JP McManus, and then only in the last week or so it's been officially confirmed that he is not going for the Triumph. He is going for the Supreme Novice, and I think that's largely to do with the fact that Sir Eric, who is also owned by JP McManus, is in the Triumph on Friday and is in fact even money favourite for it. It's a weird one. I think this horse is ideal for a Triumph, but it is only 4 years old, so it would have to be a pretty spectacular horse to come out this early in its career and win this race, really. Elixir de Nuit jumps off the page, mainly because it's 3 from 4 in his career so far, including 2 course and distance wins, which is great. He's won a Tolworth on soft as well. So, he's got a lot going for it. The only reason I'm not putting this in the frame at the moment is because, from what I can see, there is at least 6 usual front runners in here. And as you saw with Get a Bird last year, you can get a really fancied horse, gets a bit buzzy for the occasion, a load of front runners, and it doesn't always go to plan. And that is a worry that I do have. The money all week has been for Classical Dream for Willie Mullins' yard. Won a Group 1 last time out, which is a perfect prep for it. It was on good grounds, but I suppose the ground would have to be a bit of an unknown for it, even though trained in Ireland, come from France. You would think, and point to points has also been done in soft. He should handle it. And I definitely think Classical Dream is the type that will make the frame. However, for the win, I'm sticking with the horse that I fancied for this race all season, and that is Angel's Breath for Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville. He's only had 2 runs, but was an effortless Group 2 winner on debut, which is a sign of just how good he is. He was touched off in the Dovecote only just by a subsequent winner. And that isn't actually bad because this is a big horse. It's a galloper. And I actually got a publication by a guy called Mark Howard in the summer. And this horse was being spoken about in the future of being a possible Gold Cup horse one day. And that 2.5 miles plus in soft is ideally what this horse will need. But 2 mile, softish ground with a good uphill finish, I think will be absolutely perfect against it. I think he's the type who'll overcome a bit of inexperience. And Nicky Henderson does have a great record in the race, even when he doesn't win it. He won it with the likes of Altior, but he's put in Sprinter Sacra, for example, in here in the past, My Tent or Yours. So he knows the deal. And I think Angel's Breath is a pretty good bet for the Supreme Novice. Highlighting the offer with Sky Bet, which you may or may not have seen, is get your money back as cash if you don't win the first race of the festival. So it's a bit of a no-brainer to do it with them, I would say. But as always, it's a really tough race. 1, 2, 3 then. Angel's Breath from Al Dancer, Classical Dream in third. Moving on to the 2:10, and this is the Arkle Novice Chase, Group 1, 2 miles. And this is one of the most wide open Arkles I think we've seen for a long, long time. Lalor or Laylor or Lawler, whatever it gets pronounced, for the Woolacott with Richard Johnson riding, has been the favourite pretty much until the last 2 weeks. An absolutely stunning course and distance winner on his first chase start. And a friend of mine actually said only 2 horses on a chase debut have got a mark of over 170. One is Lalor, I'll call him for now, and the other one was actually Altior. So they were really impressed by it. What worries me is, though, on his next start, he only came third at Sandown and just didn't travel with his usual fluency, and straight away they blamed the ground. Now I think tomorrow, unless the rain stops and the wind gets in, it's going to be very much on the soft side, if you ask me, and that makes me very worried about taking the shortish price around it. Duke de Genevre for Duke de Genevre for Willie Mullins has got to be respected. Very much improved latest, but he seems to be better at 2.5 mile, where he can get into a rhythm with his jumping. A fast 2 mile around here would worry me. He's the type I can see staying on, but possibly not in terms of hitting necessarily the frame. Paloma Blue is another one that jumps out because obviously he came 4th in the Supreme Novice last year. And to be fair, I've watched the video back. He was a very, very good winner later. The one thing that does worry me as well, though, he missed a run in February based on the ground being too soft. So again, but he was softish at the start of the festival last year. I can see him being there, but more of a worry for me is he doesn't necessarily run his best after a break, and that's why I think they tried to get the run into him a few weeks ago. He's had 75 days off, so he's had the best part of 11 weeks off, or a quarter of the year. So that would be a bit of a worry for me, because he does sometimes need the run. Hard Line is interesting because this has been a money horse in the last few weeks. He's won a Group 1 and a Group 3, so straight away there's form in the book. And the other run, he came third behind Le Bagoir, obviously given the filly weight, the mare weight, I should say, and was only beaten about 5 lengths over an extended 2.5. Stays very well, handles soft, and I think is going to be bang there. But for the winner, I'm actually going for the unfashionable jump yard of Mick Shannon, who were tipped up last year, Mr. Whitaker, who won. And they've got a runner in the same colours, the same as Summersby previously, called Glenn Forcer. Now, Glenn Forcer is 3 from 5 this season, and is actually unbeaten over fences. The 2 he got beat was over hurdles. Beat Kalashnikov last time at Sandown by 13 lengths on soft going. And bearing in mind how well Kalashnikov run in the Supreme Novice, his excellent form in the Betfair hurdle on soft ground, that is some performance. Stays 2.5, so doesn't necessarily need to tear off in the lead like happened last time. And I think Glenn Forcer at 9-2 is a very, very good bet. For the places, though, I have to put Kalashnikov in there as well, because a little bit more chase experience, was a really good winner the previous time, has obviously run well at the course before, and if he's come on for the last run, they did say he wasn't 100%, but I don't even think if he was 100% he would have clawed back 13 lengths that day, but it should be enough to put him bang in the frame. 1, 2, 3 then is Glenn Forcer from Hard Line and Kalashnikov. The 250 is another notoriously tricky race, and that is the Ultima Handicap, which is a Group 3 chase over 3 mile, 1 furlong. Won last year by Q-Star Sivola, who is back in there again this year. Won it as a novice last year, which is a very, very good performance, and has run some good races at the course since. The worry is nowhere near that sort of form this year. And while, it's all about Cheltenham, should have it bang on for Cheltenham, on form, I like form. On form this year, it's not for me, I'm afraid to say, for Kustar Sivola. Minella Rocco jumps off the page as well, placed in a Gold Cup a few years ago, but is at absolutely no form at all this year, and missed the festival, a Gold Cup run last year because of soft ground, and it's going to come up there, and with a huge weight. I think he could run well, but unless it's a plot horse, I'm struggling to see it making the frame, really. Up for review is interesting for Willie Mullins. Really good comeback fourth. And on that form, that should put him bang there. What worries me is, though, run several times at Cheltenham and never really run up to how you would expect him to run up to. And that would have to be a really big worry. Another course regular, another festival regular is Single Farm Payment, who I've tipped up in this race, I think it was before. Loves Cheltenham, but he's £2 higher than when he was fifth last year, and he was beaten fair and square. He's got bits and pieces of form this year, but doesn't look like he's been plotted out for it. But he's another one. If you want a good price horse to give you a good spin round, Single Farm Payment's pretty much it. Mr. Whitaker, who I just mentioned before, he is finally stepping up to 3 Mile 1, and I think it's a safe move. Won the Close Brothers at the festival last year, pretty much with Brian Hughes trying to do everything to lose. Got himself in terrible trouble all the way up the straight, jump in the last. He just managed to get him out and get up on the line, but that's a sign of a horse with a good engine. He's been running okay this season, but for me, he needs soft ground, and he's finally got it now. He's been running on good to soft and good ground, and I think that's probably a bit too fast for him. It's his first mile at 3 Mile 1. I think he's been crying out for it, and I do think Mr. Whitaker will make the frame. One who is an enormous price at 25 to 1 is Beware the Bear for Nicky Henderson. He actually came fourth in this last year and got outpaced, got a bit of trouble in behind, and stayed on like an absolute train up the hill. And basically he's another one who loves softer side of ground. What I liked this year was he came back with a decent run, and he's had a breathing operation on his wind, and that was bothering him last year, according to the Nicky Henderson stable tour. And then his first run after that, he won. He finally got his head in front and run really well. So when you think he came fourth last year, he's probably got a bit better ground for him this year, and he's had the breathing operation, and from Nicky Henderson's yard. I can't believe this one's 25 to 1, and I don't think it will be tomorrow. It's the type to get really punted in. But for the winner, I'm actually going with the talking horse for over the summer and the whole season, really, and that is Give Me a Copper for Paul Nicholls. He loves this horse. His stable tour in the summer, he raved about this horse, and he says he has got his quote, he has got a big end of season handicap in him. He's only had one run this season, fourth at Sandown, and that was after a year and a half off as well. They even said, Harry Cobden said he was given an easy time in the race and could have finished closer. He's got a great weight off 11 stone too. He's had a nice break since then, so I think the bounce factor is much less of an issue for him, and Paul Nicholls' horses are flying, so I think Give Me a Copper has the right profile this year. 1, 2, 3 then, Give Me a Copper from Beware the Bear and Mr. Whitaker. This moves us on to the 3:30, which is the big race of day one, which is the Grade 1 Champion Hurdle over 2 miles. And what a renewal we've got in prospect here. Some unbelievable horses. I'm going to give the favourable mentions first before we get stuck into the big three. Sharjah has been, for Willie Mullins, has been rejuvenated all season and has absolutely pulverised some good rivals. But fast ground's the key to him, and he's not going to get it here. And I just don't think with the hill and the softer ground, he's fully going to get home. You've got to mention Mellon as well for Willie Mullins. Just nosed out in second last year. But since his fall in the race after that at Punchestown, he's been massively out of form. And Willie Mullins' talk has rightfully been all about Lorena rather than about Mellon. He just said Mellon's running, hasn't seemed particularly bullish. But, it's Willie Mullins. He could easily run well. If you're looking for a horse at a massive price at 20 to 1, I wouldn't put anyone off Espoir de Alain. Only lost 1 in 8 starts over hurdles and had an injury, missed a lot of last year, missed the festival, but better than ever this year. The ground is fine. He's just rated a little bit below the principals, but you can see him easily finishing in the first 5, I would say, Espoir de Alain. But that leaves us with the 1, 2, 3, and I'm not going to be original. It's the top 3 in the market because these are rightfully in line to be legendary horses. You've got to start with Bouverdeur, 2-time champion hurdle winner. Was unbeaten over jumps until his shock loss to Verdana Blue. I don't know where it came from at Christmas, but that mistake, I think it was 2 or 3 out, knocked the wind out of him, and he still nearly held on, which says how good a horse he is. He wasn't quite right either. Apparently afterwards he wasn't his old self, Barry Geraghty was saying. Went to Sandown next time for a listed race in soft ground and absolutely bolted in, didn't even get him off the bridle. He shook him up, he had a good blow afterwards, and everything is bang on for Bouverdeur again. And when you think as well, before Verdana Blue, actually, Altior was the only other horse, to beat him over jumps, so that's saying something. Apples Jade, what a horse she is. 4 from 4 this year with some breathtaking performances. We never got the clash with Faugheen that we hoped for when Faugheen came down, and that's a case of we never know. She stays, obviously she's won a Mears hurdle over 2.5. She stays 3 mile. She loves giving the ground. The only reason I'm kind of wavering from her is her festival form. Twice out of 3 runs at the festival, she hasn't really run to form, and even the one time she did win, she beat like a fading at the time Vroom Vroom Mag for Willie Mullins, who was pretty much past her best probably by then, and she retired not long after. So that slightly tempers me for Apples Jade. But for a horse, for the win, I am going for a mare, and it is Lorena for Willie Mullins. Anyone who follows me on WhatsApp or see me on these videos over the years knows I absolutely adore this horse. She easily won the Dawn Run last year, Novices Chase. Someone at one of these millions of preview even said, oh, but they went dead hard there. So if played into her hands, they're going to go lightning quick in this champion hurdle. But what gets me is, though, you can't get her off the bridle. She travels so well. People are saying as well, she's never run outside of a Mears race, but it doesn't really make much difference for me. You look at her racing post ratings, you look at what she's beat, you look at the time she gets, and she's got everything. And I'm always quite a conservative punter, and some places are going 4-1 on Lorena, quarter of the odds. It's an each way bet to nothing, top 3. And barring accidents, I can't see her not being in the top 3, but I think with the weight allowance as well, she's just got to touch off Bouverdeur. 1, 2, 3, Lorena from Bouverdeur and Apples Jade. Get me next page. Big day. 4:10 is the Mears Hurdle, Group 1 over 2 mile 4. Not original. I'm a massive fan of Benny de Dieu. Really good winner of this race last year, beating Apples Jade, fair and square. Interesting that they diverted from fences that year and went over hurdles and staying over hurdles now. Yet to run this season, but it does not worry me. Willie Mullins sent the Queen of Cheltenham, Quavega, out 6 times, many times without a run. Did it with Penhill last year. Willie Mullins knows how to deliver on the big day, and I just can't see anything beating her, to be honest with you. Limini's in here for Willie Mullins again. Won the Dawn Run last was it last year? Yeah, I think it was. No, a couple of years ago, and it was actually second to Apples Jade in this race 2 years ago. Sorry, it was 3 years ago she won the Dawn Run. For me, the worry is she's been on the go practically every month since July 2018. So for the best part of 9 months, she's been on the go. But recent second to Presenting Percy was her best run for a while, which makes me think she's running into form. She goes on soft, and mare in form goes a long way. Stormy Island's in here again for Willie Mullins. Fell when beaten in the Triumph Hurdle last year. She just got herself a bit wound up watching that race. But if you look at it, she's got previous placed efforts behind the likes of Espoir d'Allen and Lorena, and that form reads okay, and it doesn't look a vintage renewal of the Mears race, to be honest with you, so she should hit the frame, I would imagine. Lady Buttons, horse I love, tipped it up a lot on the WhatsApp service when winning. 4 from 4 over chases and hurdles this year. Such a strong traveller. You could back her and lay her off and run, and you can pretty much guarantee it. She travels so well, like soft ground, but my worry is I think she's a better chaser than she is hurdler. I would have liked to have seen her have a go in the Queen Mother, because I think she could have made at least the top 5. But they've gone for the Mears race, and good luck to Connections. It's a small yard, owner with only a couple of horses, and I'd love to see her do well. Mia's Storm should run well at a big price, I think. 2 for 2 this year. Stays well, but she prefers faster ground, and I think that'll catch her out at the end. But I'm going for a Willie Mullins 1, 2, 3, and that's Benny de Dieu from Limini and Stormy Island. The 450 is the Close Brothers Novice Handicap Chase, listed chase over 2 mile 4. Really tricky this year. This is so tricky. A lot of the big yards are running out of form horses or relatively unraced horses, and it's making it tricky. I'm going to go with the honourable mentions first. Riders on the Storm. It's been money for it for the last 2 weeks. Good win last time out. But 2 starts before that were not great. And I don't like backing a horse on the back of one good run, even though that could be to just make sure it gets in. Always got to look out for that. Move with the Times has been with Nichols for years. It's been short price in a lot better races than this and has on occasion shown ability, but is yet to complete this season. Looks a tricky ride, and when you expect it to deliver, it doesn't. And I don't think it will today, so watch it go and win. But it's plenty short enough at 6-1. Tower Bridge was a Group 1 winning hurdler, and on that form, you'd think great. But in total, in 3 chase starts, this horse has been beaten 103 lengths, which, okay, it could be a handicap plot, but on known form, not for me. If you're looking for a big price to give you a good run, Lofteg Spirit should give you one for Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville. 2 for 3 this year. The only poor effort he's had was when not front running. 6 in the Martin Pipe last year when not doing it. I think this is a type of horse to go hard from home and just see what they do. That's what I think they'll end up doing. And he could give you a good spin. But for the 3 I'm actually concentrating on, it's again 3 Irish horses. Roaring Bull for Gordon Elliott has shown bits of form, but came good last time. But what gets me is look at the descriptions in the Racing Post. Prominent every run. Last time was dropped out, cut through the field, came through and won going away. That makes me think Roaring Bull might have something from the handicap and has more to come. And at 14-1, that is a very big price. Cuba Mania runs as well for Gordon Elliott. Course and distance winner in October, and was then cruising, still going so well when fell in a 3-mile race, which was won by Delta Work, who is a lot of the Irish nap for the festival. Been money for it into 6-4 in places now for the RSA in December. Davy Russell seems to have picked this over Roaring Bull because he usually has the Gordon Elliott pick, and Cuba Mania's got to have a great chance. But for the winner, I'm actually going for A+ Tard for Henry de Bromhead and Rachel Blackmore. Only had 3 runs, but I like that for this novice chase. But had a Group 3 place latest, and that is a solid piece of form. The other 2 runs as well were in 13 and 18 runner races, so has got a feel for this big field, and it's a type to thrive on it. The type to improve. She's won on heavy in France, this horse, and I think is on a really dangerous mark, and Henry de Bromhead knows how to plot one up. 1, 2, 3, A+ Tard from Roaring Bull and Cuba Mania. Which now brings us to the last race of day 1, which is the ever tricky 5:30, which is the National Hunt Chase for amateur riders, Group 2 over 4 miles. Really tough race, but I do have a decent record in this, and I hope it is kept going by Ballywood, who was the pick for this year for Mullins and Mullins. Patrick Mullins for Willie Mullins. Same connections as Rathvinden, who have tipped up last year, and in the past I think it was Back in Focus who won it as well. This horse has a very similar profile to Rathvinden, you know. Came 4th in the Albert Bartlett, staying on, and looked like it needed further. 1 out of 2 chasing, but last time second, got nabbed on the line, just got done for pace, which makes me think further's ideal. And that was a Group 3, who won over a 2-mile 3, actually, over hurdles, so he's clearly got a bit of pace. And he should have, I think, the perfect blend of pace and stamina to last out in something like this. OK Corral is a massive horse. He's huge to look at. And Nicky Henderson has booked Derek O'Connor to ride. The one worry I've got is he's a fragile horse, this. Had a lot of time off the track and has only had 9 career starts. He was a staying on second in the Albert Bartlett last time when seemingly booked for nowhere, but came home and was running on through beaten horses who tried to go for the win, but managed to get second. 2 for 2 since chasing. Really good at Warwick latest. And his chance is very, very obvious. It's just that I'm going for Ballywood, but there is nothing between the pair of them. And the betting is only giving OK Corral slightly ahead of Ballywood. Discorama fell when going with Ballywood latest at the last. But I do think Ballywood had him beaten. Was second, I think it was in the Martin Pipe last year. And Discorama's chances there for all to see if over the fall. Impulsive Star was 4th in this last year, but was beaten by 24 lengths and was up there and was beaten. Was held by OK Corral on Plumpton form. I think it'll run well, but I can't see it winning. Gundigger, Gordon Elliott, Lisa O'Neill, and there's been money all week for this. It's into 12 to 1 now. But my worry is it didn't appear to get 3 mile the last twice, let alone 4 mile, and I think stamina is going to be a big issue for this one. Jerry's back is interesting for Philip Hobbs. Derek Lavery's booked. Second to Vindication in a Group 2 in soft 2 runs ago is one of the best pieces of form on offer. Worth a go over this trip. The only reason I'm not putting it in the frame is his one bad run that he's had in England was at this course and he didn't seem to handle it for me. He got buzzed up beforehand for a debut, but for me, he didn't handle it. One I'm putting for the frame though, and it is a huge price, is Atlanta Ablaze. Won a listed chase over 3 mile 1, staying on strongly at the end, which makes me think 4 miles should be within its grasp. Front runner though, and can be very gassy. So as long as the amateur jockey can keep a lid on him early doors, he should get the trip. 20 to 1. Will Biddick has been booked, which is a big statement in one of these National Hunt amateur riders races. And Atlanta Ablaze, you can't put him off at 20 to 1. But for the finale, the 1, 2, 3 is Ballyward from OK Corral and Atlanta Ablaze. Thanks very much for watching. As always, comment on what you think, what you're going to be doing. Good luck to everyone. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the festival. And day 2 will be up tomorrow. Take care, guys. Cheers.